Hello. This video is going to cover section 12.3 and it's going to go over the congruence for triangles for angle, side angle, and angle, angle, side. So we know we're trying to prove triangles congruent with the least amount of information that we have to look for on the two triangles. So this first one is angle, side, angle. So if we have an angle, a side, and an angle, then we know that these two triangles are congruent. So you can see these two are congruent, side angle. So notice on this one, the side is in between the two angles. All right. And the next one is angle, angle, side. So we have two angles in a row, then a side. Okay, so two angles in a row, then a side. All right, so those are two ways that we can prove congruence. So look at these two examples I drew down here. If you saw number one, which theorem would you use to prove that these two triangles were congruent? Well, we can see we have angle, side angle, angle, side angle. So we would say angle, side angle for that one. What about two? What would we use? Okay, we can see it goes angle, angle, side in common, right? Angle, angle, side where they're congruent. So we would use angle, angle, side to say that these two triangles are congruent. All right, so the next one, let's look at this one here. So here's my drawing I did. You have two triangles and you want to prove they're congruent. And a lot of these are going to start using those parallel line different postulates and theorems that we learned. So if we look at this one, these two little arrows mean that they're parallel, and it says that in my given information as well. Sometimes it just draws it though, so I wanted to make sure you knew what those meant. So we were given that B and D are congruent, and we're given that these two lines are parallel. So let's look at what we know. If these two lines are parallel, then this angle here has to be congruent to this angle here because they're alternate interior angles, and as well this angle is congruent to this angle. We know this side is congruent to itself, so we can see that we have angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. We don't, angle, angle, angle is not congruent. Angle, angle, angle is they're similar, they have to be similar, but they don't have to be congruent. You need a side in there for that one. So let's use angle, angle, side. So the first thing we want to state is we know B and D are congruent. Here's how I did it. I guess I'll just open it up. So, oh, I did angle, angle, side. So I did my side first, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I said, okay, AC is congruent to AC by reflexive. And you could have mixed these up, is what I'm saying by it doesn't matter. And we know BAC and DAC, so BAC and D, this one should say in BAC, and this one should actually say what? If it goes BAC, this one should say DCA. And if those two are congruent, they're congruent by alternate interior of the parallel lines. Okay, so those two are congruent. And then we know that angles B and D are congruent, and I labeled them A, B, C, and A, D, C. But we know B and D are given, so we can see that two angles and one side, so angle, angle, side, and that's how we can prove those triangles congruent. So still kind of the same thing as the section before, but now we have more ways to prove that they are congruent. Then the last thing I want to do is show you how to use a construction that is your compass, because it seems every time I assign constructions, no one looks at the pictures and follows them very well, so I want to make sure we're following the construction rules. So I want to use angle, side, angle. So what I'm going to start with is my straight edge. I'm just using a ruler here, and I'm just going to make a line. Okay, not a specific distance at all. At the end of one of the lines, I'm going to say that that's going to be C prime. and I'm going to construct a congruent angle to C. So the way that you do that is you're going to pick a distance, doesn't matter, and make an arc on your angle that you're trying to copy. And now make the same arc on the angle you're trying to construct. So those are matching arcs. Then go up here and move your compass to measure exactly across. Let me lean it so you can kind of see, oops, without drawing here, across what that distance is so that you can go over here and mark that distance. My compass is kind of being silly. Okay, so let me do it again. I like this compass because it doesn't require me to twirl very much, but maybe I'll use my other one. All right, so then from here, I'm going to mark that distance. And we know that from this edge here, and I'm just going to make this line really long, that angle is now congruent to that angle. Oops, you can't see it, sorry. So I made this line really long. Now this angle is now congruent to that angle. And you can see they look the same, right? They have the same arcs. This is what I look for when I grade construction problems. Do you have the arcs? Okay, then I want a side. So I'm just going to pick to measure this side. And you do that with your compass. You open it to that distance, A to C, and I'm just going to mark it off. So we know this is going to be, I'm going to call it A prime. And so from here, now I'm going to construct A the same way that we constructed the other angle. Just pick a distance. And you'll notice I move my paper when I make my arcs instead of you moving your compass. It actually works really well that way. So over here, I'm going to, oops, at my mark A, I'm going to make that same arc. Okay, so we've now got the arcs in the same spots on both of these angle A's. So I'm going to go back to the original and I'm going to measure that distance across, and I'm going to go back over here where it crosses the line and mark off where that distance is. So we know that this is going to be angle A through this point here. We'll just make that line really long, and the triangles have to be congruent because we have angle, angle, and a side. All right, so that's how you use constructions to prove that these constructions or that these shortcut congruents work. So we know they can work. And you can do similar constructions. Some of them are a little harder than others with all of the congruence that we've been given so far. So this was a super short lecture because you should already have an idea of how to do the proofs and how to state. You just have whether or not something's congruent with which theorem. All right, and so